Blizzard has been relatively stagnant for years, really, with Battle for Azeroth being a dud, with Overwatch and Hearthstone being pretty flat, Diablo 4 being late, and Diablo Immortal alienating their core consumers, and the massive Hong Kong situation. Well, that means that all eyes are on this year's Blizzcon. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another industry report. As always, be sure to please the YouTube gods by liking, subbing, and ringing that bell, and let's get into the video. So, Diablo 4 has had seemingly an accidental leak. Blizzard's new Art of Diablo book has this description, featuring over 500 artworks from Diablo, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo 4. Yeah, Diablo 4. How did that happen? How do we even know about this? Well, this was all via an advertisement that was found in GameStar, a German magazine. So yeah, this essentially does confirm that Diablo 4 exists, and of course I think there's really no way the Diablo Immortal could be the thing that they're referencing here. Now this is really not much of a surprise, but we do have a lot to go on as we go into BlizzCon. So Diablo 4 is heavily rumored to be the main announcement of last year's BlizzCon. We then of course saw Jason Schreier's coverage of that situation, and I've spoken to two of my own sources over the last year who have confirmed that that was the original plan, though I have heard people say to the contrary. Now that cancellation led to Diablo Immortal being the only major announcement of the con, which is a pretty darn terrible look for Blizzard, one that was just notable in light of their prior decision making. Because BlizzCon was famously not held in 2012, Blizzard had a packed schedule of upcoming, already announced games with Diablo 3, Mists of Pandaria, and Heart of the Storm, and that pretty much meant they wouldn't have much to do at the show, so they didn't hold it. Now I think that means that from
that's probably what they should have almost done last year.
Long way off, if they knew the BlizzCon 2018 would have had basically nothing, then they probably wouldn't have held it, yet they did hold the convention. Now, I think this makes it very clear that the pulling back of Diablo 4 was relatively late in the day, making an announcement this year highly likely. This iteration of Diablo 4, codenamed Fenris, according to Jason Schreier's reporting, has been in development since 2016. Now, as the story goes, according to the Kotaku report, that Diablo 3's post-Reaper of Souls expansions were actually cancelled by the top brass at Blizzard. Diablo 3's launch issues basically led to them not having much faith in Diablo 3 as a whole, so
I hope that's something they realize. Like, if you have a bad launch for a game, that just completely sets the stage for the game to just, like, not do well. Like, you can't have a bad launch anymore. It's like you look at PUBG or something like that. Even if you fix PUBG completely, people will still think it's broken. And I think that's really what the difference is that, you know, nowadays people are very, very, like the memes about like having shit going wrong, everything like that. Yeah, beta for Azeroth, exactly. Yeah, No Man's Sky, everything. Diablo 3 did amazingly. Diablo 3 did amazingly at not being functional, you're right. It was great. Diablo 3 is good now? No, it's not.
D4 became the focus, and the first version of D4 was codenamed Hades, and that was led by the Reaper of Souls team. Now, this game was reportedly just a little bit wild. It was to be a third-person, behind-the-shoulder, like, dungeon crawler, which is a bit wild for the franchise, but this project, well, it lived for 2 years and then was cancelled, with its project lead leaving the company. And this means that the new version of D4 has been in development from mid-2016. Now, of course, we don't know how much of, say, the Hades version of Diablo 4's, like, pre-production was used in Fenris, so it's quite hard to judge the exact state of its development, but still, mid-2016 to mid-19, that's 3 years of development, and that is from a fairly legendary, experienced studio. By mid-2018, I imagine they would have been about 2 years into development, maybe a little bit less, and likely were just, you know, still doing a lot of putting things together. I imagine they had their tech tests and a lot of pre-production, well, all the pre-production done, but they were still in the stage where loads of elements could change, indeed just not being final enough to, or close enough to the final game for it to actually be ready for public consumption, and it seems like that's what led to it being pulled from BlizzCon 2018. According to Schreier's report, it reportedly was not ready by May of 2018, but that in January 2018 they did intend to have a playable demo of the game. Now, as for Diablo Immortal, well, that's being developed by NetEase, not Blizzard. It's not using Blizzard devs, though Blizzard do have a small enough group of people in their incubation team who are handling the project. So, D4 seems to have been too early in production for BlizzCon 18, but it seems seems like BlizzCon 19 is extremely likely,
There's no way
especially
they're not
now
gonna
that we have it officially being mentioned in an advertisement, even if that wasn't really initially intended. That's not all though, because earlier this year I heard rumors of Blizzard's new shooter project that was actually apparently very exciting, according to who I talked to, but that it had actually taken quite a lot of resources away from Overwatch 2 development. Now, what I heard was really too early to report on and wasn't really that newsworthy, but later on this year, Kotaku posted a report on the cancellation of a StarCraft shooter, with it also actually being rumored that a pretty large number of mobile games it developed internally at Blizzard had been cancelled, and that's all in line with them shifting the development focus towards their core products. Now, this does make a lot of sense given Activision Blizzard's broader goal of just increasing the dev headcount and shipping more product. Now, because of this, I believe that Overwatch 2 is highly likely as an announcement. We've seen some leaks about, it being a PvE game that also has a PvP component and leveling and things like that, but I mean, they're not really that verifiable as leaks.
Yeah, well, some random Twitter account said this, so I mean, I'm pretty sure that basically settles it. So, if they basically make Overwatch as it's effectively Destiny, I don't know. I'd be fine with that. Sure. I mean, yeah, I'd be willing to try out the game. Say what?
I wouldn't be unhappy with that. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Still gonna play Roadhog?
Yeah, Captain Hook. That'd be great. And why though? Just play Destiny? Because, well, what do you mean why though? I mean, like, so if you have one game in a genre, then you just only play that one game? I mean, come on. Having StarCraft Destiny, yeah, it seems like StarCraft is a dead franchise right now. I think Blizzard will eventually make StarCraft 3 or something like that, but that's not going to be for a long fucking time. It's Overwatch is probably their biggest game right now. I don't know, maybe it's not, but like it's a very, very big game for them, and it's one of their biggest games. So I would see it being much more realistic that they make an Overwatch game rather than a StarCraft game, because I think that Overwatch just in general appeals to more people.
I mean, I do know that this project has been worked on for a decent amount of time, that's taken away a lot of dev assets from Overwatch 1. I know it's got a large PvE component, and I think given the massive slowdown in Overwatch's development, even what you see externally, that team, they still have jobs, they still turn up to work, so it's pretty darn clear that Overwatch is the main focus, or Overwatch 2 even. Now, I anticipate an announcement for this, but to be honest with you, I think it's a bit less of a surefire expectation than with Diablo 4. Then next, we've got World of Warcraft, the main thing that I've covered in YouTube for years. The next expansion pack will almost certainly be announced this BlizzCon. Now, Warcraft still is bit like Blizz's big cash cow. It's got more recurring revenue than Overwatch, and it has a development pace that sees Blizzard release a new full-price expansion every 2 years, and then maintain the subs. And of course, they've been increasing the scale of the cosmetic monetization. So it's making a lot of money. I mean, in a recent earnings report, Activision Blizzard referred to Call of Duty and World of Warcraft as being their big main franchises. And that does just go to show you that even though WoW is not as much in vogue these days, I mean, it still has a lot of revenue generating power, and of course that will only rise with Classic. Now, with Battle for Azeroth's class development essentially halting, it seems to me like the next expansion will have a lot of class changes. Broadly, Blizz seem to be aware of Battle for Azeroth's failings. That poises them to do a better job for WoW's next outing, and that does mean that yes, the bizarre TikTok quality pattern of the WoW team rather upsettingly just seems to be a thing, and given the timings, this announcement is essential.
What he means by that is they have one good expansion, then you have the bad expansion. So you got like Kata, ooh, and then Mists of Pandaria. All right, pretty good. I didn't, good content overall. WoD, ooh, Legion, all right. And then BFA, ooh, now they're not happy about it. And it's just like, I guess now we're due for the good one, right? So, fuck it. Just like Windows,
now, as for Hearthstone, I imagine they'll continue as usual. I mean, I'll be real, their most recent single-player content, the Dalaran stuff, it was great, so I think they might focus on that a bit more. But being real, Riot's Legends of Runeterra, from what I've seen of the beta, to be honest, it just seems flat out a better designed, more deep, more competitive, and more fairly monetized game. The Hearthstone team certainly are going to have to step up their game to compete, especially with Riot being able to bring over League's just gargantuan worldwide player base over to Legends of Runeterra. Then, of course, we've got StarCraft 2. Look, it's my favorite Blizzard game. I'll be real with you there, but I doubt it's going to be a major focus. From what I understand, it's actually a very profitable game with a very sticky audience who really does support it. But with the most recent project in that IP being cancelled, I think it'll be a while before we see more. Of course, though, we do have another RTS, War 3 Reforged, and it's a strange case. It was announced, right, with a summer 2019 release date, but it's clearly failed there. I mean, if you look at the data mined assets, I think it's a real mixed bag. I think the buildings look great, and I think the characters look great in isolation, but I think they're far too realistic. I don't think they're in keeping with Blizzard's aesthetic as much, and I think when you see them in context, you just see that the readability of the game has went down quite a bit. But still, for the lore nuts, a remastered storyline with big character draws could be a big win for Blizz. And I imagine that basically just getting this project up to somewhere near Blizz-like quality has been a challenge. Most of the assets, from what I understand, are outsourced, with it being managed by Blizzard's classic games team. But seemingly, though, development was just not too smooth on that project. I mean, the delay is pretty darn obvious, isn't it? And with its beta looming, I would expect to see a development update at BlizzCon with a very firm release date. So basically, you're looking at a World of Warcraft expansion in 2 games, and that would make it pretty much the largest BlizzCon ever. The big question, though, is whether they will have surprises. And to be honest with you, I doubt they'll have big surprises this year. I think they'll be next year.
I think that all the fucking surprise, we already know what the surprises are. It's like going and opening up all your presents for Christmas, but you already know what all the presents are going to be. It's like we know it's going to be Diablo 4, and it's like if you know that your mom's going to buy you a fucking GameCube for Christmas, you're still excited as fuck to wake up on the 25th. So it's like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. It's not, I'm fine knowing what's going to happen.
Blizzard seem to have shifted development away from their speculative projects and just over to getting World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Overwatch in good order. They certainly will have other projects, ones that we won't know about, and I would expect those to be 2020 announcements. I think 2020 would be sensible, given how it won't be a year with a WoW expansion and how Blizzard would, they'd be starting to see the gains from their 2019 wide goal to increase their developer headcount. Now, WoW Classic's another thing. It's been a big success for the company, but I would expect to see major announcements be in 2020. I do believe that 2019 will see Blizzard talk about the games like phases, but the announcements regarding, say, WoW Classic TBC or WoW Classic Plus, which I'm a very big advocate for, I think they will be saved for later. At least
I think that's going to be next year, because even now, like, Classic came out like, what, 2 months ago or something like that? Blizzard is probably going to be waiting for like 7 or 8 months to decide whether the game is actually worth continuing and like developing over time. So I think that we're going to have to wait for quite a while to actually see what Blizzard is actually going to do with WoW Classic. But I think next BlizzCon, not this BlizzCon, but next one, we're probably going to see we will see a direction that they intend to take Classic in. Will that direction be BC? Will it be Classic Plus? Will it be both? Will it be something else we haven't thought of? We don't know. But I think that it's going to happen next year, not this year.
That's what I'm expecting there.
I'll be very surprised.
Of course, though, much of the focus this BlizzCon is not going to be just on the games. Blizzard have clearly struggled with their public image following Blitzchung's ban. We have not seen Bobby or Jay satisfactorily deal with the situation yet. I don't really count the main letter that they put out. I think the NBA's Adam Silver handled the situation well. He reaffirmed the NBA's commitment to American values, and that was even the face of no-shows in China and drop sponsorships. I really think that if Blizzard want to maintain their reputation there, they'll need to just follow NBA's suit. They'll need to step up to the line and eat the financial losses, because at the end of the day, their core audience is, it's not necessarily as much that market.
Well, if Blizzard, it is, that's the thing, is like it is, but if Blizzard wants to, the players will not be satisfied by anything unless Blizzard basically pulls out of doing content in China. Like they will not be happy. It doesn't matter if they say that they stand for values. It doesn't matter if they do anything like that. They will not be happy unless Blizzard does something that they will not do. So I think this is just an instance of Blizzard as a certain point where you just kind of let things blow over. China represents 13% of the revenue. It's really not. Well, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want to lose 13% of your income, right? I mean, it seems like a bad idea. And also, the market in China might have more of a growth potential than the market in Western countries. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. But is it worth losing 13% of your market to gain the approval of the most dedicated 1% of your audience? I would personally say no, it's probably not.
They are an American company, and their Western audience will expect them to have, well, cultural values that are in line with that, that are pro, expression. And that's just going to be a big problem. I really think that they need to do a large statement before BlizzCon, one that basically will have to cost them money, because they will have to throw a little bit of the China situation under the bus. They either do that then, or maybe do that in person via speech. That'd be a real power move. But being real, if they don't do that, it's just going to haunt them. This Blitzchung Hong Kong situation, it's going to haunt them through the announcement of all of these games. There is a pretty high chance we'll see something large happening at BlizzCon. We, of course, haven't even seen the BlizzCon lineup. If memory serves, they normally have the BlizzCon schedule posted in advance, a bit more in advance of the convention than, well, we don't have it now, and the convention's pretty darn soon. And I think that's a bit worrying. I've got to wonder if internally Blizzard are just still having meetings thinking, like, should we cancel their Q&A sessions? I've got to wonder if they'd rather just cancel the Q&A sessions and then move on to just have more dev panels or something like that. I mean, given the quality of those Q&A sessions normally, I actually prefer that as a viewer. I think the Q&As are generally a big waste of time. But
okay, my name is Warhammer, and I'm from is there anybody from the Horde here?
Dude,
and then everybody else like, oh yeah, we're from the Horde. Oh yeah, shout out to. Go ahead.
Yes, I remember us doing this we said this exact same thing last year.
Yes.
Right before BlizzCon, we said the exact same thing. If they have a Q&A and one of you guys that are watching are lucky enough to go up there, look. Nobody gives a fuck who you
what
are
server
or
you're
what
on.
realm.
Please.
It does not matter. Nobody gives a fuck. It's weird, cringy, stupid, dumb. You look like a fucking nerd. It's horrible. Don't go up there and do this. You look like a fucking loser.
I play a Shadow Priest on Kel'Thuzad. Do we have any alliance here? And they're like, oh, and they're so excited. And they're like, oh, shout out to my guild, the Pastry Boys. Woo! And they're like, Jay's sitting up there. He's like, ah, fuck. Okay, all right, where's the question? Ian is just sitting there, has to smile at this stupid ass shit. I'm sorry, guys. It's so annoying. Like, half of the Q&A questions, like whenever Bajira's wife, Jen, did the Q&A and she just asked the questions, and Panzer did it the year before, Trade Chat, that was great. That was it. You just ask the questions and it's done. She reads them off and you don't even have an issue. Yeah, problem solved. Advertise should go up for Q&A? No, I don't think that's going to happen. Also, Jesse Cox. Yeah, I don't remember Jesse Cox doing it. It was kind of a while ago. Oh, not everyone is a stream to make an ass of themselves. We go 15 minutes of fame. Give them that. Well, yeah, but I'd rather, I'm just saying that nobody, it's okay every once in a while, right? If there's a couple people, but then everybody starts doing it. It's just crazy.
They obviously know someone's going to go in with their pre-screened question about maybe class changes in the new World of Warcraft expansion, and then they're going to talk about Hong Kong, and then say the World of Warcraft developers are just going to be stuck up on that stage, feeling very awkward indeed, because...
It's like, what is Ian supposed to say? Like, you get mad about Hong Kong, and you're like, Ian... why'd you do this? He's like, I don't know. Like, I literally make I make a fantasy game for a job. This is what I do. This is all I do. I play this game. I have no fucking idea. And it's like there's nothing that they can say that's gonna make these people happy. It's just a huge fucking mistake.
I mean, you know, that's all stuff above their pay grade. So
Yeah.
a very interesting situation from a company that, as the various US politicians said, you know, is a pillar of the gaming community. They stand to gain so much from BlizzCon 2019. This really, it was all lined up for this to be their big comeback. But in how they've handled Blitzchung, I mean, they've primed their own torpedo, shot it out, and then like kind of guided it back onto themselves, or, you know, something like that. So it's going to be, well, it's going to be certainly something to follow. I think I can guarantee that much. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about Blizzard's future prospects in the comments below. And with that, I'll see you next time.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
Okay, great. Okay. All right, great. We're good. Okay. All right. Okay. So here's what it is. I think that overall, Blizzard should probably go out of their way to prevent people from going and making a statement. I think it's bad for their brand, because like it doesn't matter how they approach it. It doesn't matter what they do. People will still be angry. Making a spectacle. Yeah, a spectacle. That solution, in my mind, there's no way. Of course there's a way. You just don't give them a microphone. You just have security there. You don't give them a microphone. Security is just informed to escort anybody out that starts bringing anything up like that and protesting. They just get taken out of the event, and it's problem solved. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's so easy to deal with it. What the hell are you talking about? Like, it's a joke. The China method? Well, it's not the China method. It is the the private event method. If you have a private event and you have some random fucking person going in there getting mad, yeah, they're going to get removed. That's the way it goes.